and not too bad. Definitely has been nice actually taking advantage of Conjure Flame this time around. As we saw in our last attempt, for the most part, not completely necessary. We were able to make it by using, for the majority of fights, just Foxfire and the occasional Sticky Flame, but it definitely makes things feel a little bit safer and a bit satisfying to use on top of that as well. There we go. Now one of the Son of Guns comes next to us, and let's just get out of here because I do not want to be bombarded by lightning strikes as we take on an entire plethora of reptiles. Not great. Foxfire dealing most of our damage there. We can finish off with a Sticky Flame just to be safe, of course. And let's try this floor one more time, shall we? Love to see that. It should mean, yeah, we're down to just one skill being trained up. It's pretty awesome, because it means that we can start thinking about our future. Let's bring up our entire list of spells here. We are just about at the point where we'll start getting gifted spell books a bit more frequently from Sifmuna, so hopefully can round out the repertoire here a bit. Until then, though, Bolt of Magma, we could give another go here. Try and give it another wonderful send-off before it's removed. Manifold Assault is calling out to me, but I think I need a slightly better weapon before I hope to take good advantage of that spell. But maybe this time around we'll try and lean into that a bit earlier, depending on what we get. I mean, if we find Ignition right away here, Ignition is so incredible that we'll probably just train Fire Magic instead and use that as our be-all end-all area of effect high damage spell. But I think Bolt of Magma kind of has our name on it for now. Let's try that route again here. So Conjuration and Earth. Might as well even learn it right away. Try and have some fun, and let's start training up. Earth at least a little bit. Again, we'll probably use this regardless of what comes up in the future, if just as a bit of element neutral damage sources. And Conjurations is already at 6. Let's bring that up to an 8, maybe a 10. We'll see how it goes. That's something that's nice to train when you're deep into Fire Magic, because Flame Strike itself, or Fire Strike, I always forget about the specific naming convention for that spell. Regardless, the level 9 fire spell is of course a mixed school between Fire Magic and Conjuration. So if we ever want that castable, especially in a 3-rune game, going to have to commit relatively hard in that department. It helps out, of course, that most of those earth spells that we were talking about and that we're so fond of learning are also Conjurations, so it's a few different birds with one stone. Jeez Louise, I do not like these electric eels. One of your favorite tactics is to get Animate Skeleton and fill them with Inner Flame in order to kamikaze on enemies. I do love it. The flavor on that strategy is definitely fantastic. Absolute chef's kiss. Brutal, but effective. I love it. And hey Brain, how's it going? Hope your day is going fantastic so far. Always nice to see you around these parts. As we continue our way, we did, of course, find Snake again this time around, which my initial thoughts want to be pessimistic about because of how horribly embarrassing it was to die there last time. But the optimistic side of me, the silver lining, of course, has to point out that we instead can get revenge. We can get vengeance for poor old Frank, who never even had a chance, never had a shot to make it through. And this time, it'll be different. Hopefully. Let's not speak too many big words, because Snake is my worst branch these days, to say the least. So we run into Fanar. Don't think you're susceptible to fire, unfortunately. And we don't have cold resistance, so we have a Ring of Ice. That's something. That's something, alright. And hey, Kelly Comeditor, nice to see you here. What's my favorite thing about humans? I would say their flexibility, the versatility at their disposal. It's kind of similar to the way that gnolls work, and where you're really dealing with whatever the dungeon throws at you, you can pick up, put it to good use. In this case, we of course don't have everything training at once, so it's not quite as niche, not quite as generalized, but it has a nice mix of that versatility as well as the ability to focus on whichever branches you wish to. So I think that they're a really cool middle ground between gnolls and some of the more niche species. And that allows us to have a whole lot of fun with anything the dungeon throws at us. It's nice to be able to use anything that you come across, at least potentially use anything you come across. You think of humans as bad at everything? Hey, you're not wrong. They're equally bad at everything, for sure. I mean, the nice thing about it is just how quickly they gain experience levels too. So if you run into really bad threats, early on especially, there's almost no harm in just skipping it for the time being, or even less harm than there normally is, because hey, running away and leaving someone for later, pretty much always a good strat in this game. But definitely as a human, you can just skip down to the next level, try and gain a couple of experience levels real quick, and then head back up for a slightly more manageable bit of combat. But no, definitely, as much as I like the versatility side of humans, I like gnolls more personally. I think it's a lot more fun to have the pure generalist approach, and I think that I, in general, find myself drawn to the slightly more situational based species and combos, because I think it's fun to be forced into a little bit of a cubbyhole as well. Like, it's weird, I'm kind of contradicting everything that I've just spent the last few minutes talking about, but I am definitely a man of contradictions, and I like pretty much everything, so at the end of the day, not completely inaccurate one way or another. But okay, we made it through a decent chunk of the game here, and we haven't actually done our due diligence in terms of identifying items. We have so many scrolls at our disposal, so many unidentified potions. I mean, we have the important ones already found here, but it's about time that we started catching up a little bit, so we immediately read a scroll of Torment that we had 5 of in the early game. Okay. We'll just run upstairs and heal. Railbird, you like human fire elementalists? Because Gandalf from Lord of the Rings is a human fire elementalist. Exactly. We can put on some really nice fireworks shows, and who knows, maybe when we die we'll be revived in the next form of power, taking the place of a previous wizard order. I do absolutely love any reference to the good old Lord of the Rings, so I can appreciate that a whole lot. Completely understand the tendency towards playing as such a fantastic character. But okie dokie, back into our scrolls here. Let's read another one, and we do get identified this time, so that's solid. As mentioned, we've already found our Curing and Heal Wounds potions. Might be nice to find Haste, Brilliance, you know, the work, but I think for now, we'll continue chunking through the rest of our scrolls here, and just get as many of these stacks identified as possible, hoping that we get Blinking. Hey, perfect timing there. Identify 3 scrolls of Blinking. Love to see it. We have 2 more stacks to identify here, so let's do that. 3 scrolls of Brand Weapon. Ooh. That's interesting. I mean, there is a broad axe here, so we could go axes. Not generally something that we'll be using much on this character, even if we do go for a bit of a hybridized approach. I doubt we'll be surrounding ourselves with enemies too often. Though, of course, it is nice to use something like a broad axe as early as possible. Once you have the kind of bare minimum training requirements, they output a heck of a lot of damage, especially if we can get a good brand on it. So it's tempting still. At the very least, still tempting. So we've failed to cast Sticky Flame. You son of a... Okie dokie. We'll just run away, head upstairs, bring one of these yaks up with us, slightly more manageable, and do the usual ring around the rosy. Oh, I forgot that Finar was here. Right. In that case, we're right next to you. Let's switch out See Invisible for Ring of Ice, giving us slightly better chances at resisting any of the damage coming our way. Light you on fire, for sure. Not a doubt in my mind. And what else? I mean, again, he's not susceptible to fire. He's not in a great spot in that regard. We do have one Curari dart. Want to just get some pretty solid poison going. Sure, let's get all the damage over time we possibly can. In fact, we'll just add more poison between using more sticky flame. Just keeps adding up here. We should be able to chunk this buddy down. We still are at risk of taking up to 40 damage, I think, was the Ozokubu's refrigeration cap there. Which would have been, I guess, reduced down to 20. So we were in pretty good shape throughout that entire fight, thanks to the Ring of Ice. We should also switch that out right away here so we don't forget to do so. Where did that elephant go? Sir? Well, that's fine. We'll put on the Amulet of Magic Regeneration. Thought the elephant saw us, but I guess not. Sir? Huh. Interesting. Well, I guess we keep moving. Ah, there you are. Hello, friend. Fortunately, Sticky Flame and Kiting should be enough to get through even this elephant's thick hide. Not too bad there. I don't think we killed the eel. There it is. It's the son of a gun. The second Ring of Ice will probably just drop that right away here. Another scroll blinking though. Definitely can't complain about that. Of course, does mean that we fill up our inventory to the brim once more here. That should be a-okay. Well, sure, we'll just light you on fire still. Let your friend approach us, light them on fire as well. This is our life now. This is what we do here. Ooh. Another unidentified scroll. So we'll drop our scrolls of noise, I believe. We also, wait a second, have just this crappy robe. I mean, sure, if we brought it from home, it has sentimental value, at least, but not something we care too much about carrying around. We can drop that. The troll leather armor is still an interesting one. I think I'm enjoying the poison resistance and the slightly higher AC too much. Switch off from our swamp dragon scales. But it's at least tempting. Something to at least think about. We'll carry it around with us for a little bit longer here until we're absolutely forced to drop it in favor of some other item. And an entire herd, hey? Well, let's risk trying to take one of you upstairs. Perfect. Slightly risky if just because elephants can, of course, trunk slap you and trample you off of any square you're on, which wouldn't have been great, but would have been early enough in the fight that we could have thrown some other solutions at the problem until it went away, I'm sure. Oh, Nakato Plebis. Hello, sir. Use Fireball to just try and knock you down. As soon as possible? No, hey? Not happy with that? I mean, you're so close to dead. Be ashamed to run away now. But no longer ashamed if we can just bring them upstairs. Perfect. Love it. We did see we were starting to attract a wee bit of a crowd there. So we can head over to a different stairwell. This one looks to potentially be our safest, even though it's still relatively close. I mean, dang. Wait, that was a different elephant all the way down here. Oh, interesting. Multiple herds. Fun stuff. Well, we can try and dish out some damage as they approach here. We don't have great willpower right now, so being petrified is very much a risk. Might as well try and use the stairs. Again, not completely bummed out if we'd gone trampled off. It wouldn't have been the end of the world. But ideally, we want to pop down. Wanted to be right next to the basilisk and no one else. Oh, and finally we fail the attempt to go upstairs and instead get trampled. Well, that's a shame, too bad. We'll start to run away though. Making sure to keep the basilisk on fire since they're what I'm most scared of. Let's not put ourselves into a corner. This is always risky, going off into the unknown, but we're not going too far. Just long enough to get a bit of a loop going on here so we can bring our new friends around in a big old circle and deal with them in some ways one-on-one. It's definitely preferable here, and there we go. Trolls always get a bad rap, but it's not like they're walking around wearing human hides. I mean, you're not wrong, it is pretty messed up. I mean, what's even more messed up is, are they sometimes wearing their own kind's hide as armor? Or are we just quickly skinning them? I guess we're probably quickly skinning them, right? Even for the blue trolls, for whatever reason. I thought that they might be wearing it, but never mind, ignore me. It's just humans that are messed up. Humans are the true monsters here. We did pick up one more ID scroll, so we'll definitely use that up right away here. See what else we can have at our disposal. Now, we definitely, just speaking of the entire skin debate there, we spent an entirety of multiple episodes throughout different runs here, just begging, just wishing to steal the skin off of some poor dragons. Absolutely brutal if you think about it for even a moment. Oh, stepping on an alarm trap. And we hear a whole lot of noise, which is not great. We are very far from our stairs. So, I think we'll run to the side of the map where we're hopefully slightly safer. Trying to move not too quickly here, just so that we are made aware of any monsters that pop into our field of vision. Fortunately, just the elephant so far. That's not too bad. Definitely turned out better than I expected it to. I was waiting for an entire horde to descend upon us, but I'll take it. Gladly take it there. As we pop up to all of our skill settings here. Skill targets, that's what they're called. And so what do we wish to do today? Could start training a little bit of armor, trying to give us some extra AC points. I will also make things slightly more castable in the future despite the armor we're wearing, so as I talk about it here, I've already convinced myself. Let's start training that a wee bit, and then we'll probably turn on some more spellcasting schools. Spellcasting schools is the thing. But in order to determine which school we wish to go into, let's maybe take a quick look at our spell list here. I mean, Mephitic Cloud and Ignite Poison is kind of a fun combo. Nowhere near as good as something like OTR and Ignite Poison, but it does allow us to put out some AoE flames. It's kind of like a wider area of effect conjure flame that we can do at a distance, so that's kind of nice, to say the least. Otherwise, Manifold Assault, again, it is something on mine. We have a lot of brand weapon scrolls. We just need to find a good weapon. It's tempting. Last but not least, we'll take a look at Bolt of Magma here, and that does look like it could still use some work, so could Fireball. So I think I'm going to turn Fire Magic back on. Let's bring that up to a nice whopping 16, get it on the way to a future Ignite as well. And on top of that, I think Earth Magic can come up a little bit. Thanks to our nice and simple aptitudes on this species here, we can definitely get away with training whatever we'd wish. So that is pretty swell, at the very least. So we deal with all the remnants. These were probably mostly monsters that were heading towards that the marked status when the alarm went off at our feet. That is a-okay. Jeez Louise. Komodo dragons hit real hard, friends. I don't want to end up adjacent to the Hydra. I feel like I'm going to. Here, let's try and work around it. We'll sneak in here. Throw out that flame. Hopefully that kills the Komodo dragon, and indeed does. As long as we don't have to spend a turn actively killing the Komodo dragon, the Hydra wouldn't have been able to step up to us, even if they were still just behind said Komodo. So that definitely works out in my books. We'll run upstairs real quick, definitely heal up. And Let's see, this is still nearby. It's far enough away, I think at the very least, for us to get off some good hits. And we'll just sling fireballs till the cows come home. Perfect. A 5-headed Hydra isn't too scary. Ooh, a rune trident. We were just talking about how much we want a beautiful weapon. Could you be it? +0 trident of venom. I probably do like it better than the mace we're using. I mean, the mace is relatively easy to pick up and use without any training thanks to that base accuracy. But having the slightly ranged, having poison as well, does work out, especially since it means that we could, if we wanted, learn Ignite Poison a little early here just to get off some extra little bits of damage here or there against certain enemies. Also very nice for against some specific like poison susceptible buddies we might come across, so let's at least pick it up. We can put down the whip for now, pick up that son of a gun, and we'll see if we end up using it in the near future here. So we fall into a shaft and drop the floor. Fantastic. So fall asleep once to the Dream Sheep. As long as we can light enough of them on fire, even putting us to sleep shouldn't be the be-all end-all of the run here, because I think that we can take them out quickly enough to help us out in that regard. Jeez Louise. Almost got too cocky at the end and started just auto-fighting instead of using our sticky flames. Not great. Oh, and we fall into a shaft and drop another floor down to the bottom of Lair. Oh no. That's not great, friends. Let's see. 6-headed Hydra. So we'd have to tank a few turns of hits from them to make it to the stairs. It's 3 moves to make it there. 2 of which were under fire, including going up. Under fire from the Hydra in particular. The wolves will also be doing their best to come in en masse, and we don't know if the top of these stairs are safe whatsoever. Let's do it. Take a step over, head up. It's not looking horrible. I think what I have to do, light a wolf on fire, walk through them. Okay, now the Hydra is at least behind another enemy, but it's not looking great for us, friends. It's not looking great for us. Can light you on fire. Oh gosh, I thought top left wolf was dead. My bad. Let's instead throw out a blink here, try and just get ourselves out of the situation. It escalated quickly. Oh dear gosh, yes. Much more quickly than I would have preferred. Okay, so we should think about this before I just keep walking. Essentially, what I was debating in my head was, do we want to try and make it through this fight in one piece? Just go balls to the wall against the Hydra and the Cane Toad? It's definitely possible to take them out. Alternatively, we can continue walking up into the unknown here, hoping, against all hope, that we run into a stairwell that we can just zip up, get the heck out of dodge. Would be nice. Alternatively, we could go full panic strats and read like a teleport scroll and just try and get out of here. I think I'm going to take a few steps up, see if we get lucky with an early stairwell. We run into any more monsters, we're going to just read a teleport scroll and be happy with that. Perfect. Robert, sometimes you get the feeling the game is trying so hard to kill off the character. They can try all they'd like. I'm not giving in that easy. Think it's that straightforward to take out a human fire elementals of Sivmuna? Think again, game. Shaft me as much as you want, but please don't shaft me too much. But shaft me as much as you want, and we will do whatever we must to make it through in one piece. Where are all the stairs, though, is my question. Excuse me? Game? Ah, there we go. There's one. Oh wow, and we were just out of sight range as we came running up with our Hydra pal in tow. I mean, I wouldn't have wanted to make it through the herd of elephants, so still works out the way that we played that in my mind, but it's fitting, karmically fitting to have that be the exit there. Oops, that's not what I wanted to cast. There we go, sticky flame, much better. So we just sticky flame and run away. Back into our safe place here, feeling slightly more comfortable at the very least. Though we probably will continue downwards once we clear this floor. Layer 5 at least didn't look too shabby. Layer 6, we probably want to wait just a wee bit on, because until we have some good AoE, we're just going to get absolutely swamped by the wolves and the polar bears and what have you down those a ways. Do not try the patience of wizards. Unbeatable indeed. Wow. Black Mamba, your poison is too strong. Stop. Please stop. Now the cane toad too? Jeez Louise. Poison resistance just isn't kind these days, eh? Just can't have nice things. Well, I guess let's reach into our back pocket for a fireball, just try and deal enough damage to take them out in one go, and it does work out. And then retreat up to a stairwell while we heal up. Oh, especially, yeah, if Sonya's gonna pop out of the woodwork, jeez Louise. Okay, +2 Dagger of Distortion, Curari Tip Darts. We at least have resistance to poison. This is good. As long as we don't let her into melee range, don't have to worry about getting abyssed. We have a decent number of wands at our disposal too. Here, we can take a quick look downstairs. Shift X and then bracket to do that. Open up our V menu on Sonya here. Relatively low health, so a couple fireballs should do the trick. That gets past her evasion nicely and does just slam for a decent chunk of change in terms of damage. Alternatively, or on top of that even, she has low willpower, so we could hope to use something like our Mind Blast to good efficacy. Interesting. Let's see how much damage our fireball does. 3d13, so there's a chance that we just one-shot her. That'd be cool. That'd be very cool, game. Okay, she starts by blinking. That's not cool, game. Let's see. First fireball, not quite a kill, but pretty close. Just takes a couple of shots there. Very nice. That gives us a few more Curari darts at our disposal too. As long as enemies aren't too poison resistant, that will pay dividends in the game here. And in fact, immediately we come across a Boulder Beetle that I'm gonna shoot some Curari at, shoot some more generalized poison at. Love to see it. Can I force you to hit one of my Foxfires? I think the answer was no there. Oh, it's still alive. Nope, never mind, you feel a bit more experience. So the poison did manage to kill it off screen there. We probably didn't even need to bother fighting it in close quarters combats, of course. Would have been better off potentially launching more Curari darts at it, just staying out of reach, even in its roll state. Would have had a slightly better chance with the addition of Curari Slow, of course. Ooh, and we get granted our first gift. The Grimoire of Conjuration, giving us static discharge. IMB is Kandarin's Mystic Blast. It's Kandarin's Battle Sphere, which I haven't used in a while, but used to be something that was pretty high on my list of conjuration spells. And Firestorm. Wow, second Fire Elementalist in a row here, and we get Firestorm both times. Thanks, Sif. I appreciate it a lot. We were talking about this earlier, of course, and the need to train conjurations on top of fire, so that might be nice to pick up. And it will absolutely delete most of the challenges that we find ourselves in a 3-rune game. So that's at least on the list here. IMB is at a 12% learn, or failure rate. That's kind of nice too. I think we will end up training that up a wee bit as well. Let's turn off Earth Magic for now and instead train up Conjurations to a steady 12 or something like that. You know, we'll have to go higher in the future. Last but not least, we did hit our cap on invocations, and we're still at a 14% failure rate for Divine Exegesis. I think I do want to train that up slightly further here. Getting invocations also helps us out with the channel magic, makes it last for slightly longer, giving us an overall better return on the PD investment. So it does help out in multiple categories. And shouldn't be too hard to train with that +1 on top of that. Perfect. Onwards we go. how do I figure out which level to cap the training on? So there's definitely more straightforward ways to do it than what I do, because I find that instead of actually looking at the formulas and coming up with some decent idea of benchmarks, I'm mostly going off of personal experience and my own biases for where I like things to sit at certain stages in the game and whatnot. And so a lot of that for me is just habit and behavioral after so many years of playing the game here, though I'm sure there are, in fact, I'm not even just sure, but I know that there are many people who have a greater understanding of all the baseline mechanics in those regards, and definitely could do a better job of explaining the caps and stuff. But for example, I just know in my head, in order to cast like a level 8 spell, you usually want the fire or the school in question to be somewhere around the like 20 to 22 range. In order to cast the level 9 spells, you definitely need it up as high as even the max 27, but usually around like 24 to 26 is where things start to kick in the gear. It's tough because there are a lot of factors for each and every one of those. Not only is it your skill training, but also your statistical attributes here and how much intelligence you have when it comes to spell casting. So definitely just have a few ballparks in my head that I know I like to be around, and then you can finesse it a little bit as you have a spell that when you look at the failure percentage, you can see that it's slightly higher than you'd like. Might as well train a bit more. Don't have to have anything memorized really, and just play it by ear and see how it goes. Though again, might not be the most straightforward or the best way to go about things, just something that I've picked up over my time playing the game, to say the least. Thanks to our magic regen amulet, we're definitely able to hold out in these fights quite well, and Stair Dancing with Sticky Flame becomes super powerful as we're able to apply it pretty much every single time it comes off. Not cooldown as it were, but I guess as soon as they put the flames out, that's the better way of describing it. We do manage to regen enough by that point in time, so that's pretty spectacular. Let's throw out some poison again against this son of a gun, light them on fire on top of that, just deal all the damage over time. That is perfect. Oh my gosh, I walked the Hydra right into that alarm trap. I'm dumb, but we should be okay. We've cleared out most of the floor here. I'm just going to launch a few fireballs, probably finish off that son of a gun before they manage to close the gap. And in fact, it looks like we might have cleared out all the monsters here. There's absolutely no harm in that alarm trap. Perfect. And not too shabby here. Looking pretty good at the end of Layer 5, as mentioned just a bit ago. I think we're going to leave Layer 6 for the time being, wait till we have a bit more of a consistent source of area of effect damage, and instead can head out to the regular dungeon. We could head out to Orc, which we could probably deal at least the first floor, maybe even the second one at this point in time. Though maybe for the second floor, I'd like slightly more willpower, so we're not having issues with the sorcerers and things like that. Or we could dip into an S branch. Probably not Snake. Gonna save that one. Play it by ear is reassuring to hear. I think that's how the majority of players end up coming about it, just because there are so many little tidbits and a bunch of different calculations being thrown in by the game there. And I was even only talking about the slightly more straightforward case of things like spell schools, where you can actively see your progress in the failure rates and stuff like that. It definitely gets a bit harder for things like armor, shields, fighting, spellcasting. Those I very much just have personal benchmarks that I like, because like spellcasting and fighting, I usually go to 8, then I go to 12, then I go to 16, and then I leave them on for the rest of the game after a certain point. But you know, it's pretty arbitrary, at least for me, and it's instead just how I'm feeling when I look at my health. So yeah, I think that playing by ear is definitely good enough for me. And if that's what you do as well, then you should be just fine moving forward with the rest of your dungeon crawling. So it works out well enough for all intents and purposes. light you on fire, you son of a gun. Perfect. There's that Boulder Beetle that we had such a hard time with the last time we were here. A bit more straightforward this time around. And the troll getting taken down with relative ease as we finally find another identify scroll. These have been few and far between, to say the least. Well, hello, my skeletal friend. Let us bring you into the flame, light you on fire as well. 25 plus your mace. Shouldn't be able to one-shot us, so let's use Sticky Flame one more time. Oh gosh. I don't like that Boulder Beetle coming out of the woodwork. Well, let's just walk next to them, because at least then they don't get the roll on us, and can immediately Curari Dart. Start to run away. Excuse me, pardon me. Excuse me, pardon me. Okie dokie. 2 Boulder Beetles, eh? Game is not fooling around today. But there, we can show off with the Curari Dart. You're in a pretty good spot to just walk away. Even if they do start rolling, you're still quick enough. Saw that it unapplied at the last moment there, but we have enough here to just keep smashing it down, so not too shabby. Tangu Warrior. It's one of those tricky little, like, specialized vaults that can spawn in. Definitely filled with slightly tougher enemies, but we're in a good spot here. We've been through Lair. I maybe am a bit too confident in our abilities to make it through, which isn't great. We can use some fireball shenanigans and then finish off with Sticky Flame there, just to make sure that we're not getting completely slammed by a high evasion enemy. Those Tangu can be really tough to fight just because they'll keep dodging everything. And now here, the Meliai is going to smite us. So I took the step back, which is risky because it's putting us under fire from the Yaktar, but it will allow us to try and get a fireball out that doesn't work. Very cool. Very neat. Very cool. Not at all scary. Oh geez. Maybe I should have just run when I had the chance. Sticky Flame is going to do pretty great work against the Meliai. Unfortunately, we will have to fight the Freezing Wraith after as well, which is going to be dealing a whole lot of damage. I did not like the numbers I was seeing there. So, what do we wish to do here? I mean, what are the chances that you just kill us? 14 plus 12. And you also have your smites that we have to be wary about, of course. Do we dip immediately into Blink Scrolls? Do be the question. Fortunately, just one isn't going to cut it. This buddy is too fast for us. But even taking a single turn of damage from the Freezing Wraith can be no good, especially with that slow effect. So, let's drink a Heal Wounds. Let's use Sticky Flame to light our befriend on fire. And then take some steps away. Oh, it's a shapeshifter. Interesting. But at least now we've gained the distance in order to run away. So we'll just take this lovely Wraith on a bit of a merry jaunt here. Taking a trip. Making our way downtown. Walking fast. Faces past. And we are homebound. Perfect.